Good? Okay. One of my favorite quotes is everyone has a million problems until they have a health problem, then they only have one. But why stop at basic health? We could be sabotaging our best physical shape. You know what I find really cool is that while we're all here, our bodies are currently doing so much that we're not consciously choosing for them to do. This is our involuntary physiology that we really don't have control over, nor would we want to. Could you imagine, while driving your car, trying to regulate your heartbeat, and then trying to decide where food needs to go next for proper digestion? We can barely walk and text, never mind homeostasis. On a daily basis, our body is continuously regulating itself in a response to external factors. Viruses, bacteria, a potential attacker, even a family member or coworker you really just can't stand. There are so many self-regulating processes that are happening, the list could go on forever. Heartbeat regulation, temperature control when we feel hot or cold, hormone balance, inflammation control. But the ones that I want to focus on today are specifically related to metabolism, digestion, nutrient absorption, glucose regulation, muscle, protein synthesis, and fat metabolism. Now, acute lipolysis does increase in the short term, but chronic stress promotes visceral adiposity through cortisol and insulin dysregulation. So when I mention fat metabolism, I'm referring to the management of visceral fat in the context of long-term chronic stress, which we all have to be very aware of. Just be mindful. Now, these metabolic processes are at their peak when our parasympathetic nervous system, the rest, relaxation, and digestion side of our nervous system is activated. This is what I like to call our magic space. This is like when we're really flowing. This is what I call metabolic heaven. When our involuntary physiology is functioning at its best, our involuntary physiology functioning at its best, that we really don't have control over, or do we? Our daily habits have an insanely powerful effect on our involuntary physiology. The magic space I was referring to, that metabolic heaven, when we're really flowing. The critical moment is when that gets interrupted. When our fight or flight response, our sympathetic nervous system is activated. This is the part that we have to be the most mindful of. When blood flow and prioritization shift from regulation to survival. But the body knows what it's doing. It's like, hey, digestion isn't really that important right now. We kind of need to stay alive first, then we can worry about taking care of this food later. It makes sense and it is necessary. Now, please remember, stress is normal, so we shouldn't panic anytime we feel stressed out. Where we run into problems is when that sympathetic nervous system gets activated excessively when it doesn't need to be. Not because there's an actual threat, but because the body is perceiving stress everywhere. It could be anything from emails to conversations to pressure to an unwanted text message to overthinking. This is exactly why mindfulness is a non-negotiable when it comes to my coaching. I am adamant with my clients about being mindful of when they're unnecessarily activating their sympathetic nervous system and disrupting that magic space, especially after a workout. That's really the most important time. Hi, my name is Coach Jyima. I am a certified personal trainer, a strength and conditioning coach, a corrective exercise specialist, and a certified holistic health coach. And honestly, what I'm most proud of, I am founder and operator of my own fitness studio in downtown Los Angeles, The Gym. And this year is our 10-year anniversary, which I'm insanely excited about. When I first opened, I never knew that the most important thing would be working with people rather than all the certifications I had. I remember one moment in particular. One of my clients, the others refer to her as Golden Child, because they swear that I post her on Instagram more than everyone else. I disagree, but for the sake of this story, we'll call her Golden Child. She was coming back from a very stressful medical leave, and she wanted to get back into her best shape. Former gymnast, very dedicated, very disciplined. I was like, sure, for sure, let's do it. I already know what to do. So I put together a workout and diet plan that I knew usually worked. We got right to it. She was crushing it for 2 months until we hit a plateau. So I sat her down. I said, listen, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to focus on 3 things. First, I really need you to focus on getting as much sleep as possible. If we can be mindful about getting 7 to 9 hours, that'd be perfect. In addition to that, I need you to get as much rest as you can during the day. Whenever you get stressed, I also need you to make sure you take a step away, breathe, and make sure that we're not activating that sympathetic nervous system. She made sure that she listened, and that's what we did. We checked in after the 2 weeks, and we smashed through that plateau. She lost 1.5% body fat. She was surprised, but I wasn't. Scientists have a few ways to measure how well our parasympathetic nervous system is working, but one of the most trusted is heart rate variability, or HRV. HRV looks at the small differences in time between each heartbeat. Those differences show how your stress system, your sympathetic, and your recovery system, right, your parasympathetic are balancing. It's pretty much looking at the interaction between the two. When your fight or flight system takes over, your body shifts away from things like metabolic function, glucose regulation, and then immediately goes towards survival. So HRV goes down. Higher HRV, on the other hand, is linked to better recovery and more efficient metabolic function. These are ways you can track this. They can be found on certain apps or other certain things that can measure that. Now, with that science in mind, Golden Child breaking through her plateau after finding more moments to chill out for a week or 2 wasn't necessarily a coincidence. These are the little details that we don't pay attention to in addition to whatever workout program we have. So how do we maximize parasympathetic activity? How do we stay in that magic space of metabolic function? Yes, by being mindful. But mindful of what? I don't want you to go find a beach, lay down somewhere and saying that you're being mindful of your metabolic function and your nervous system regulation. What I'm saying is, in addition to diet and exercise, recovery, which is getting the right amount of sleep, and stress mitigation is the key to unlocking everything you're doing. I never forget when I was growing up, my father, who is an immigrant from Ghana, worked very hard, and I really enjoyed watching him because I took a lot from it. But I'll never forget a piece of advice that he had given me. He said, never compound your problems. He said, if you lose your job, that's one problem. If you stress about it, now you have 2. I've carried that all the way into my coaching. So when I'm working with my clients, I always let them know, as working professionals, whatever stressor you have, that's one problem. If you have a dysregulated nervous system, now you have 2 problems. Now, I can get into all the different ways to manage and regulate your nervous system as far as yoga, meditation, breathing techniques, but the reality is, the minute that you understand that a regulated nervous system is the best way for you to deal with whatever stressor you have in front of you, the better you're going to be. Just be mindful.